Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, this is Boisterous coming to you with some Gosu League goodness out of the map Derelict Watcher LE. Spawning up here in the top left-hand corner, or the top right-hand corner, excuse me, we do have ESCeu's representative ShowTime, the orange Protoss player. Down here in the bottom left-hand corner, we do have mouz's HeroMarine as the red Terran player. And this is actually from a recent Pro League, the ESL Pro Series, which is basically just like a weekly tournament that a lot of like Germany's best players play in. And they get to like decide, you know, who's the best in Germany, and that's really a major thing. And I decided, hey, you know, this looks like a pretty good series. I think I'm gonna cast it. I actually watched part of it, and I was like, yeah, this was good. This was nice. So I just got the replays, and now I'm casting them because that's what I do as a commentator. So we do, of course, have ShowTime versus HeroMarine, which I don't think a lot of people know yet. HeroMarine, I know his name personally because he was recently on the SC2L. The SC2SL? I think it's just SC2L. It's the league that In Control is putting on, of that, you know, that has a lot of those pro teams that are going head-to-head against each other. And HeroMarine actually came in for mouz and did a pretty freaking good job. I mean, HeroMarine is a really good player, and I recently just looked up a lot more of his more recent results. And within like the last 3 or 4 months, he's been knocking out a lot of like the big-name European players like Baby Knight and TLO. I actually don't know if he's had anything against like Lucifron or Vortex, but you know, knocking out TLO, that's pretty good because TLO is really starting to turn into a powerhouse for the European scene. I mean, he's been showing off quite a lot recently, especially at events like Home Story Cup, and he's been playing very, very well recently. It looks like we are going to have ShowTime's probe sneaking up here into the main base of HeroMarine. It should be able to slide right in there. Yeah, it will. I'm not sure if it'll be able to escape. Most likely not, but you know, you never know. As it does look like HeroMarine is going to be pumping out that Marine along with the Orbital Command, but you're not going to be seeing a Reaper, which is not too much of a surprise on Derelict Watcher because this is kind of a trashy Reaper map, considering the fact that you have to like jump up here and then you have to run all the way around to the other side of the base and jump up again, and that's just really nasty. It takes a really long time for Reapers to actually manage something like that, so you just don't see them all that much on this map. And it looks like we are going to have the Gateway and the 7X core coming down for ShowTime, fairly standardly placed gas. It looks like it is just going to be a warp gate coming right out of the 7X core as soon as it finishes, with maybe a sentry backup, but I would be expecting more of a stalker for a little bit of a light prodding pressure. It looks like we are going to have that Nexus coming down. The command center already started just a little while ago. It's about halfway done at this point. So we are going to be stepping up to a fairly standard macro game, which is not too much of a surprise. I mean, neither of these players really want to risk this best of 3. On opening up with a cheese game. That's typically not the best plan. I mean, that's really a second play. That's really a second game play. You know, if you're ahead in the series, you might go for a cheese play, just like throw your opponent off and make him go like, well, is he gonna do this again, or is he just gonna play a standard game number 3? And it can make your opponent a lot more cautious, especially depending on the map picked. It does look like we do have ShowTime with his Mothership Core just floating around his natural. Going to be able to defend that quite easily. The bunker is, of course, going down for HeroMarine, but, you know, it's not really a requirement. It's just that there's a lot of Protoss players that like to go for, like, a 1 Stalker, 1 Zealot pressure attack, and if you don't actually have a bunker down, it can be quite nasty to try to hold off. We do have the 3rd command center from HeroMarine coming down at a pretty early time. This is actually, yeah, this is pretty early 3rd command center. It's going to be interesting to see if he just has this to like macro up and get mules, or if he's going to be using this for actually taking that 3rd base. Another interesting point to point out for HeroMarine is that he has not yet taken a gas, and it's 5.5 minutes in. That is a very, 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 very late gas timing. It looks like he's just going to be sticking on pure Marine for quite a while here, but I think a big issue that he might run into is the fact that his upgrades are just going to be quite low, because I mean, as soon as he gets that gas, he's going to need to instantly drop a factory, get reactors, get tech labs, and start upgrading just like the basic Marine stuff. And, you know, you can't really get +1/+1 if you're upgrading combat shields and stim. They just cost too much gas. It does look like we are going to have the Marines in the main base just kind of sitting here, you know, being a little bit wary of the Warp Prism, because, of course, ShowTime is not a player you see on a lot of main stages, so there's not a lot of people that know exactly what he's going to do at any given point in time. It could be any level of cheese happening. Or really any level of anything happening. Of course, we know that he's not really going for anything too surprising. It's just going to be 3 gates and a robo, getting those observers out to really scout out across the map. But, you know, HeroMarine does not have the kind of information we have, and it can still be a little scary to play off against a Protoss player if you really have no idea what they're going for. We do have Stim finally getting researched here. This is a reasonably late Stim timing, but that is primarily just because he went so heavy into the eco and did not really get any gas for quite a while there. And even now, I mean, he's still down 2 gas geysers. We can see ShowTime now dropping down those double forges. And the engineering bays have started for HeroMarine, but I'm not sure how fast they'll actually finish because, again, he's going to need to drop a lot of gas into his factory and into, you know, other things like Marauder production or like the combat shield upgrade, and it's going to be a lot later for him to be able to get those engineering bays out, especially if he wants to go for any sort of medevac play, because medevacs, they cost a lot of gas. It looks like he is going to be going for weapons level 1, so he is going to be delaying medevac production for just a little bit longer in order to get that up. He does have, of course, 2 more refineries on the way, so his gas income is finally about to take that spike up, but at the same time, I mean, it's still been quite a while for him of not being able to get those upgrades and not being able to get those medevacs, especially considering the fact that ShowTime is going to be chrono boosting out double upgrades, which is going to come down quite fast, especially considering the fact that he's also going very, very far up his tech tree. He does have the robotics bay down. He is making his first Colossus, and I would not be too surprised to see the extended thermal lance upgrade coming along quite soon for our Protoss player. And, you know, HeroMarine definitely in a better economical position, but I'm still a little bit worried about him as far as it comes to, you know, actual attacks, because he's not going to have a whole lot to fight off against these Colossi. I mean, his numbers are going to be basically Marines for quite a while here. He's not even going to have medevacs for at least a little while longer. He might be going up to enough Briarix where you can start production on Marauders, but without Vikings and without medevacs, even Marauders fall quite fast to those Colossi. I mean, they just do a lot of damage. It looks like we are going to have these orbital command floating over to the third base, finally landing itself. He will be able to be, you know, just on par with ShowTime's time for his third base. I think he still has a little bit of a worker lead if we look at the unit count. Yeah, he does, especially considering the fact that he has 3 mules out on the field. I mean, his worker count is pretty significant. It's up to about like 20 if you really count those mules. And I think he should be feeling pretty safe here. He will be able to transfer quite a few SCVs up to that third base. This observer from ShowTime will, of course, be able to see all of this going on. He knows that the third base is down, and it looks like this army is literally stacking up right under the observer. It's almost like HeroMarine knows that it's there, but he has no freaking clue. He's just going to be running off across the map, and I'm not sure about going for this attack, because he, again, does not have any medevacs. I mean, he finally has 2 with his army now and 2 medevacs with a ball of Marine versus 2 Colossi with range about to finish and +1/+1. It's going to be a rough scenario. That's going to be painful to say the least, especially considering the fact that we have the third Colossus on the way. The ranged is going to finish before this attack comes in. It should finish like about 3 or 4 seconds before it. It looks like we are going to have the double drop going into the main base, but that of course means that this entire hit squad does not have 1 medevac, so basically just the Colossus should be able to clean this up. This drop squad will be moving in here, but it will be forced off by this slightly dangerous force of Zealots and Stalkers. Here it comes in yet again, but the Photon Overcharge is down, and this thing really does not want to stay around for any longer than it has to. He's going to need to pick up here or maybe lose a couple of the medevacs. He is going to be able to snipe off a lot of these units, but he is going to be forced to run or just lose basically all of his Marines. And we have 1 low medevac. The attack of the third base really didn't do anything. If we look at the workers killed tab, he's only up to 4. So that was a pretty, I don't want to say bad move by HeroMarine, because he's still in a pretty solid macro position. But he can't be sacking units like that, especially when he has such low counts of these support units of medevacs and Vikings. He's gonna need the biggest ground army he can possibly muster up, because even double producing Vikings now, he's still gonna have a very, very low number of them. He really needs another starport to get the actual numbers he needs out of this army, because otherwise he's just gonna be in a very, very awkward position. But it looks like he is just going to be staying on these 3 bases in this 1 starport, and not quite sure about this decision. We do have 6 Marauder at a time production coming out right now, which is quite frightening. But the issue with that production like that is that it kind of gives ShowTime the ability to just swap text completely. I mean, like, he already has Psionic Storm on the way, he has Charge on the way, he is going to be warping in High Templar, and we can see a solid switch into a Charge Lot Archon army, which would not be good for HeroMarine. I mean, that's an army that Marauders are not going to do well against, especially considering the fact that Charge is on the way, Sonic Storm is almost finished, and we are going to see those Archons warping in quite soon. I'm still not sure about this. The Viking count just is not there to be able to snipe off any sort of Colossus like this. I mean, there's only 4 of them, and there's 4 Colossi, and that's just an absurd amount of Colossi to have versus an even number of Vikings. And it looks like we are going to have these engagements starting to go down. This small platoon from HeroMarine will be moving into the 4th base. We have actually a pretty beautiful concave coming out from HeroMarine, but man, these Colossi just absolutely wrecking in damage. It looks like he won't even be able to snipe 1 Colossi. Oh my god, so much damage coming out from those guys. He might get a little bit of probe damage done here, but it really does not even matter, considering the fact that Colossi are rolling in here. And oh my god, that was just such a solid win from ShowTime. ShowTime, of course, still down about 20-30 in supply, but it doesn't really matter because he just has the solid tech advantage. We do finally have Hellbats on the way, and of course, this is pre-Hellbat nerf, so they're still going to be at full strength, but I mean, you know, losing that much of an army to ShowTime just is not going to be good, especially considering the fact that he's sending a second army in, and I'm not sure if he really has the ability to kill this. I mean, there's just so many Colossi, and these are almost fully upgraded Colossi. They are going up to 3-3 right now, and that's going to be absolutely frightening. We do have the Mothership Core here, so there will be time warps, and that is just going to be worrisome. Ugh, I'm not so sure about this. It looks like we are going to have a small platoon yet again running into the 3rd of ShowTime, and there the time warp goes down on the main army of HeroMarine. He is forced to back. It looks like a nice pickup on all those units in the 3rd base. We'll keep most of them alive. A storm goes down and lowers a lot of the health of those Vikings, but does not manage to kill anyone, which is a pretty major point. HeroMarine really needs to keep those things alive, but I really think he needs to kick up his starport production if he wants to keep up with this army, because, I mean, 4 medevacs isn't enough. It really isn't. He needs a lot more, or more Vikings. He needs a lot more something. He needs a lot more oomph in his army to be able to take this out, because, I mean, Charge Lot Archon will just absolutely trash through him, even with the Hellbats. And even though these Hellbats are really good, at a certain point, Charge Lots and Archons are just going to be way, way, way too much for them. It looks like we are going to have this engagement going down. Yet another pretty good concave for HeroMarine is going to be coming in here, but beautiful storms are going to go down across the entire army, and it looks like HeroMarine not even going to try to micro out of them. I mean, we have reasonable splits and reasonable stutter step happening, but it just wasn't out of the storms that he really needed to be dodging. He is going to be falling back into these medevacs, but at this point, ShowTime can really just push and win. He just has such a superior army at this point. 3-3 is just about to finish. He is going to be going up to 5 Colossi, and with 5 Colossi plus Archons and Charge Lots, you're going to be in a pretty good position to win a game, especially considering the fact that his opponent really does not have the Viking numbers to be sniping off any of these Colossi, especially considering the fact that, you know, there's going to be a lot of Archons on the ground just absolutely wrecking face through them. It looks like we are going to have a small drop from HeroMarine down here, just cleaning up Xel'Naga Towers. But of course, this is all Marauders, and you know what Marauders are pretty bad against, guys? They're pretty bad against Charge Lots and Archons. I mean, they're okay versus Colossi, but if Colossi have a giant buffer of Charge Lots and Archons, it does not even matter, because those Charge Lots will just prevent any of the Marauders from actually getting close to the Colossi. And we are going to see this engagement going down. HeroMarine with yet another army. I mean, his macro is just impeccable. If you look at his money, it's so low, so much of all the time. I mean, he just needs either ghosts, he needs a starport, he needs something better than what he has, and he just does not have it. And ShowTime, now with the superior supply lead, is going to be moving in here. He does have a proxy pylon down, and I'm really not sure if HeroMarine has what it takes to hold this off. We finally do see another starport getting added on, and we are going to have 4 Viking in a time production, but I'm not sure if it matters anymore because Colossi production has been cut, and it's really just a Charge Lot Archon mix at this point. We are going to have a flight coming down and being able to snipe off a couple of these Colossi, but the storms are just so freaking good for ShowTime, and HeroMarine is forced to call the GG on this first game. If you guys would like your games commentated, send them on into boisteroussc2@gmail.com. Also, if you'd like more Boisterous action, head on over to youtube.com/user/boisteroussc2. I will see you guys in game number 2, and this is Boisterous, signing out.